Hey everybody, this is Annie Noodle, and I just cleaned out my car because I'm going on a road trip. And I found all these rocks in my car. Just all these rocks and pine cones and shells. I might be a rock hoarder, guys. And on a similar note, I'm doing an art challenge with one of my YouTube friends. So, let's get started on that. Okay, so here's the nature of the challenge. My friend actually lives in New Zealand. I think you live in New Zealand, right? You live in New Zealand. So lives really far away from me. And we wanted to pick 3 items that we found outside and essentially give them to each other. And then we would each draw or paint or do some sort of art thing inspired by those 3 items, which sounds really fun, right? So only we live really far away, so we sent pictures. So she sent me this really cool shell thing and this really cool piece of driftwood, I assume. It might not be driftwood. Piece of wood. Cool piece of wood. I really love this angle of the wood. It looks really cool. And then this cool, oh my gosh, I know what kind of plant this is and I just forgot. Nope. Really cool plant thing. Really cool plant. There we go. Really cool plant thing. Has these cool little leafy things going on. Yeah. So I know you can't see that really great, but that's not the focus of the video anyway. So I took those images and I made a few little sketches of what I wanted to do. So I was thinking maybe like a little elf girl in a cool like little leafy forest. Was using a shell for an umbrella. Like, that sounds fun. And then I was like, maybe a lady was using a shell as an umbrella. And this blob is her mushroom dog. And she had like a dress too that looked like the shell, and she was also going through the cool little leafy forest thingy. And this is the one I settled on, actually. Cool ant thing who found a shell in the woods. He's got a little friend. And he's going to have those little leafy kind of growths coming off of him. I don't know, look at his cute face. I love ants. We're making an ant. That's all there is to it, making an ant. So let's get started on the ant. Voiceover Annie here. I started out by, as you can see, taking a reference picture of myself in a goofy pose again. Don't downplay how helpful it can be to have a goofy picture of yourself as a reference when you're trying to do a fantasy portrait. So then I just went right in onto my watercolor paper and did the sketch right away. And I know you probably can't see it, so I'm sorry about that. And I kind of had an idea in my head that I wanted this to be a glowy picture, so my background color, I went in very light yellow in the middle and then a blue around the edges. And then just started painting my ant. I love ants. I have loved ants since the first time I read Lord of the Rings, so I was really, really excited to paint an ant today. And I will, spoiler alert, tell you, I love how this turned out. I think it's okay to like your own art and to, I don't want to brag about it. Like, that's different, but like, I'm just really happy with, it makes me happy to see him. So, yeah. So I'm going in with a couple of different colors for the ant itself. Kind of like a brownish color for the parts of him that I picture as more like being able to see the grain of the wood, and then more of like a gray for his like outer bark parts, which a lot of the outer bark parts kind of get eaten up by the dark later, so you can't see them very well. And I'm also trying to keep in mind where I want that light coming. That's why you see me dabbing at the watercolor to keep it keep it extra light where I want it to be light. I know that that's very clever of me. So I just thought I'd let you know what I was doing. So here I'm starting to go in and do some line work already. I am painting this the night before leaving for my vacation. So kind of was on a big time crunch because I leave everything for the very last minute when I go on vacation. It's honestly partly just because, like, I worry that if I pack ahead of time and get ready ahead of time, the vacation will get canceled for some reason, and then I'll have to unpack everything, and that's so depressing. So basically, the night before my trip, I'm always doing 500,000 things. Yeah, and one of them is this, because I needed to get a video recorded because I haven't had time this week. Yeah. So I really had a lot of fun doing all the line work for this. I love painting lines. I know I say this in like every single video. I love painting lines. I love watching other people paint lines. I also was really excited about how this turned out because I never do things with kind of lost edges, and I let the edges of this ent really get lost, especially up at the top of his head. But even down at his elbows, I know you can't see right now, but you'll get there. We'll get back there eventually. Yeah, so I'm really excited that, like, I let those edges get lost. It's really hard for me to do that. I want to define everything very clearly. So that was a fun challenge. Also, I know you can't see super well because, and I apologize for this, like I said, I was in a hurry, so like I was not paying close enough attention to whether or not I was actually on camera when I was recording. So there's a lot of stuff that just didn't end up in this video because it's slightly off camera, and I was like, oh, Annie, you can do better. But anyways, so all of his little wood grain, when it gets closer to his hands, which is where the little glowy thing is going to be, I try to lighten the wood grain so it disappears into the light. Yeah, very fun to do that. So, like I said at the beginning of this video, this is based on 3 found objects. So the wood grain, I feel like that should be fairly obvious, and the cool little leafy things show up fairly close to the end. And the thing that he's looking at is the seashell. Like, I decided, I'm like, I don't need to, like, interpret that at all. I want it to just be itself. And that's because, like, one of those things that happens if you ever walk around in the woods is, like, you'll just be waka, 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 and then you'll see a little snail shell sitting by a tree. And you'll be like, oh, it just, I don't know, for me at least, it's like this little moment of kind of surreal. Like, you're like, why is this shell here? Because it's so far from the water. And I mean, it's, you know, because birds eat snails, I'm sure. So it's not super magical, but it's always, I don't know, it's always given me that moment of pause. So I'm starting to put in the shadows now, and I had so much fun painting the shadows on this guy. So much fun. I don't think I've done like one single like bottom lit portrait ever, and it was really fun. I am definitely going to do more of these. Especially doing it in a way that doesn't have the creepy vibe. Yeah, I don't know. It was really fun. And I'm super happy with how these hands turned out. You know, hands in this position, I'm always, I don't know, do you ever stop dreading drawing them? Like, yeah, I was really worried. I was like, oh, I'm going to do it in this position. Oh, man, his hands are going to look so awful. And they turned out fine. Yeah, I did have to redraw them a few times, but yeah, they turned out fine. So now I'm just going in and trying to define the shell a little bit, and you honestly cannot tell it's a shell until basically the thing is done, and that is fine. So, like I said, the shell is the source of the glowiness, so I am putting in a glowy golden color on the shell and on the things that are the closest to the shell to give that glowy sense. And also like a little bit of glowy rim light kind of dealies everywhere else. I love when I start painting the shadows around his eyes, I grab the wrong color blue, and oh my goodness, it looks so bad for a while. I turn it around eventually, but oh my goodness, there's some very ugly moments in here. So, the trip that I'm going on is to go to Gen Con, which is, if you don't know what it is, it's like a board game sort of convention. You go and you can play board games and buy board games, and there's also artists there, so you can go talk to artists if you're like me. Oh my goodness, this bird. Okay, so like the bird didn't really get a very good sketch to begin with because I didn't want it to be super like um I didn't want it to be the focal point. So, but oof, that bird really had the worst ugly spots in this video. So ugly. I had so much fun painting these like um, wood silhouettes, tree silhouettes in the background because I let them fade out to nothing too, and I'm so happy with how they turned out. Yeah. Oh, so Gen Con, yeah, me and my friends are going. I don't have a booth, but I'm hoping to have a booth next year. I'm gonna at least try to have a booth next year. I've never actually like I haven't applied to too many cons just because I haven't felt ready, and I'm feeling ready. If I can leave for this week and my cat will be okay, with all of his meds. Oof, yeah. Like if that works, then I will feel like I can apply to cons and still. Um, and if not, I guess it's kind of off the table, and I'll just do local fairs and stuff, and that's fine. Like when you get a cat, that's your responsibility, and you just kind of have to make life plans around your pets because that's how it is. So if I'm gonna be a person who can only take 2 day long trips from now on, that's just gonna be how it is. Um, so doing this background was awesome, like I said, until right around this point. So I've mentioned this in previous videos. I'm horrible about mixing enough paint, and this is like a mixture of like blue and I think a gray and a purple. And so I was like getting down to this part, and I just had like this little tiny puddle left, and I was like, no. I was trying to make it stretch because I did not want to have to go over all of it again. Yeah, I made it though. I made it. I think it, yeah, I made it, but just barely. Like I totally ran out of that paint. Someday I'll learn. I'm gonna keep pretending like that's a thing that can happen. Yeah. So we'll be at Gen Con. If you're gonna be at Gen Con, drop a comment and you can get lunch or something or go play a board game together. I'm really excited to go there. Oh, we're back to the bird again. The bird footage disturbs me, guys. Like, I just can't, I don't even want to watch it. It turns out okay. It turns out actually probably exactly like it should. But wow, it is hard for me to watch because it is super ugly. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to like just having a week off work to hang out with my friends and play board games. And I met some artists at the illustration intensive that I was at in Wisconsin, and I know they're gonna be there, so it'll be nice to like run into my friends and get to talk to people and look at art and play board games. And yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, this part just, oh, I was like, okay, the bird's sticking out way too much, so I really need to push it way back. And I was like, so dreading, like, oh, blobbing those dark colors onto it. I was like, oh, this is gonna ruin everything. But I did it anyways, because that's what you do. Um, And all through this part, I was like, oh, this is like the ugliest thing ever in the world. Like, maybe I could just put a post-it note over it. Yeah, and then I start dabbing off, like, because it got really granulated, and I was like, oh, I don't like that at all. And then I started dabbing off that color, and it, yeah. And this is kind of like where it ends up, is just kind of like you can see his little face and his little foot, and then like the hint of his tail feathers, and that's it. I really like how it turned out. So now I'm going in with gouache, actually, to put in these little green leafy dooders. Um, and yeah, I'm really like, oh, and I put in some greens, like kind of almost like a blush, like kind of like on his eyebrows and like on his elbows. Just because you don't want to have just green blobs, like that doesn't look good. So you have to get like, there's got little green bits everywhere in the painting to make it more cohesive. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing here. And so it's like 5:30 in the morning, and I've been up since 3. So I'm doing the voiceover the next day. I actually finished this up the next morning. Yeah, and I am really tired, and I know I was saying something, and I have no idea what it was. So, like, if it was important, like, leave a message in the comments and be like, Annie, what were you even talking about here? Oh, and so I have all the cars from my, all the rocks that I found in my car, like, scattered around the picture, because I thought it would be fun to just leave them in there. Because, after this, they're just gonna go get set in a cool bowl somewhere and they won't ever get played with again. Poor rocks. So we're getting close to the end now. And I just went in and used a cool color to put some very, very subtle outlines around some things. And I want to keep it really subtle so you see me dabbing at it. Like, yeah. But the hands just weren't defined enough. Like, I think like, the shape of the fingers was getting lost. So I went in and put in some outlines, and I did a little bit of more shadow work like this. Not too much. It was really just like a couple spots. Yeah. So for the outline parts, when it's on the color with the light, the color that gets hit by the light, I always pick a warm color to outline on that side. And then the color that goes into the shadow, I always pick a cool color. So I think I'm just using like a kind of blue that I use in the shadows for the whole thing. And then for the light side, I was using like a red brown. And I'm painting with my Mission Gold single pigment paints. I can't remember if I said that. They've been getting a lot of attention from me lately. So I'm really liking them. I mean, it helps that like now, like I'm very much a convenience artist. Oh, that cheek. That cheek gave me so many trouble. Like I had to go over that thing so many times until I felt like it like looked right. I don't know why. Anyways, I am a convenience person, so like if I have a palette sitting on my desk that's like accessible and ready to go, I'm like, yeah, I'll just use that. That's fine. Oh, and here I'm done. I'm signing it. Hooray! I actually remembered to sign it. I'm so bad about remembering to sign my art. Look at how cool that glowy shell looks. I think it looks like a shell. Yeah. Let me know in the comments what you think of this guy. If I'm just overtired and maybe I need to be less excited about him, or if he is in fact super cool. I left the tape pull in for you guys with some very bad camera work, and I'm sorry about that. But dude, it is 5 a.m. and I'm very tired. I have to do my voiceover still, and I have to actually get ready to go on my trip still. I haven't even packed. Um, yeah. So I will admit this is a very satisfying to me um, tape peel. Uh, Tape peels are the coolest when they're next to really dark colors. The only bad thing is I will tell you, like the last piece of tape did tear the corner a little bit. Not the painting itself, but the edge of the paper, and I was like, oh, I hate when that happens. Whoop. 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 Done. So here's my finished dude. Yeah, like I said, I'm really happy with how he turned out. So let me know what you think of him in the comments. Yeah. Weird bird thing. I like the little accents of green. I'm glad that I put that in there. This was a really fun challenge. I will link my friend's YouTube in the comments. I know that she was gonna post too fairly soon, I hope. And then I thought bonus footage. I drew these two ants 20 years ago. So I thought I would just toss them in here so that you could see where my art has come. Well, hi guys. It's really hard to get my hand in front of this camera when it's this low. Okay,